number of the execs had seen information from John Fong last year. John, wave your arm so we can all say hi. And John has some great ways of helping congregations to utilize and maximize Facebook to get their presence out there. And will talk to us about that and explain that. And there'll be plenty of opportunity to ask questions. Cheryl Galen, Cheryl, wave your arm. Cheryl was the, I don't know what your official title is, but the interim exec in Elizabeth Presbytery, where John hails from, and was able to be a part of this and shared it with our execs. And so we're excited to have this chance to hear about what might be. And there are others who want to be with us who can't, which is why we are taping this. So just know that others will be seeing whatever questions you ask later on. But yeah, the chat function is real helpful. And don't worry about whether you're sending it just to Mike or to all of us. We can ferret through that. What else do we need to know, Mike? Anything? You're going to put a PowerPoint on the screen?
I'm going to share my screen when we're ready to do so, and then John will walk us through the PowerPoint for his presentation. Yes.
So gracious God, bless us as we learn new things and seek to share the wonder of your kingdom in new ways with new messages that others might come to know the grace of Jesus Christ. Amen. All right, you guys.
Floor is yours, John.
Okay. Hi, everyone. My name is John Fong. Just a quick little back. I have a beautiful wife, 3 beautiful teenagers. I started this online ministry idea about 2 years ago with the help, the funding of a innovation grant from the Synod of the Northeast that Cheryl and several presbyteries in New Jersey at the time put in and sponsored. So, and I'm going to get right into the PowerPoint because I'm not sure what our time limitations are. So, Mike, if you could put up the, okay, first one is pretty simple, you know, Church Beyond the Walls. It's really about establishing an online ministry. And generally, this PowerPoint really takes you through step by step. I've modified the PowerPoint a little bit for us, for our presbytery presentation. But any church that has this presentation pretty much could start utilizing these ideas. So, I'm going to go to the next slide.
One quick thing, if you have your pictures on the right-hand side and it's kind of in your way, you can move the picture slots on the right side to the bottom of the page. You can, I think you actually make them smaller at the top. If you mouse over at the top, you have different options. If you click on the very left one, the single bar, it hides the whole thing so you can see the whole PowerPoint better.
Also, John, is it possible to turn up your microphone? It's kind of hard to hear you.
Oh, really?
Yeah, you're quieter than everybody else, John.
Okay, let's see if I could turn on.
And a little bit garbled.
Let's see. I thought I tested it, but let's. Let's increase the volume. Okay, it looks like, yeah, it looks like I can. Oh, well, I think I'm on maximum. So it might be just my mic. So can you hear me okay now? Or am I still muffled?
If you speak up loud, I think we're okay.
Okay. And just stop me if you can't hear me. So the next slide really talks about the digital online ministry. And the goal of this ministry is to establish an online gathering place, church, online church that ministers to people beyond your church and reaches your larger community. And the whole idea is really how people communicate and how society has changed. And people, and as a church, if you want to minister, you really need to go where the people are. And people are online nowadays. So, can you hear me okay? So, so the goals are to establish online ministry and to reach a large community, to provide this 24/7 online gathering place, to essentially improve your overall church communication, and at the same time increase exposure. And with this newfound enhanced communication and community presence, you're able to welcome some of these folks to your church. Now, many of these people that you're going to minister are online and maybe a distance away, or they're just not used to going to church. Am I okay? Can everyone hear? Okay, so next slide, please. Okay, what this program is designed, it's really designed to help you succeed as a church. And it's designed for churches that have very, very limited resources. Churches with part-time pastors or no pastors, part-time office help or no office admin at all, or a lone pastor or volunteer that does everything for the church. So the foundation of this program really starts from that extreme condition. So I'm going to start, and as you look at the slide, there's little different images. I'm going to start with benchmarks. Every church that enters and rolls into this program starts with a 30-day benchmark of reaching at least 500 people online and inviting and welcoming at least 4 new visitors to church by the end of 30 days. So having that benchmark really helps them focus. And I will say, even though it might sound like a stretch, over 90% of my churches that enroll into this program meet their benchmark in the first 30 days. So that's really unique. There's automated processes that monitor and track your social media, your online presence, your Facebook reach and engagement. And those behind the tech features really help churches that are not very tech savvy, and actually you really don't need anyone that that is tech savvy to implement this program. So the other components that make this program really unique and almost fail-proof is the one-on-one training and consultation with me. I consult and train every single church. I could do that because many of the program is automated. Many parts of the program is automated. And the other piece is that this program is really designed to be very customizable. There's certain foundation elements in the program, but everything else, you know, if you want your social platform to do only videos, if you only want to post certain days, so anything you can interchange is modular. So I'll talk a little bit more about each piece of it in later slides. The other component is this whole idea of super users. It's a really powerful concept. These folks, they really drive your exposure online. But what they also do is they stabilize attendance, they stabilize finances. And I'll explain how that works later. And I guess the last piece is this idea of crowdsourcing. I mean, I work with hundreds and hundreds of churches in the Synod of the Northeast, the Synod of the Southeast, and now Trinity. So I am able to, you know, look at all these ideas, and our church has wonderful ideas. And I just, you know, I take pieces and really, and share it with other churches. So this whole idea of crowdsourcing with all this information it really is beneficial to all our churches. So next slide, please. I'm going to talk a little bit about the basic components of online ministry. Most churches now have a website. And everyone knows what a website does. So I'm going to kind of talk about what a website can't do. For example, if you have a website and you have a visitor, and it comes and it takes whatever information it needs, and they kind of disappear. Unless they leave the information or engage your website in some way, there's no way to start a relationship with them or capture them. On a social platform, however, like a Facebook page, if a person visits your page, the algorithm, the computer brain, actually will tag them and will start showing content from your church. So they don't disappear. You have an opportunity to start a relationship with these folks. So on a social media platform. So, and then, and from Facebook, you can add other platforms. And I'll talk a little bit about this, but you start with Facebook, and I'll explain to you why in a second. So let's, unless you have any questions, let's move to the next slide. So why do we start with Facebook? Okay. The first things, the idea that this program is really for churches with very, very limited resources. So because of the limited resource, I'm going to direct my churches to where the most people are. And my last check, Facebook has 2.5 billion people on it, and it's getting close to 3 billion people. Even with all the issues it's going through, Facebook has grown over time, over this period. So that's sort of the main reason. The other important reasons are, what most people don't realize, it's almost 90% of all social media users have a Facebook account. So the chances are, if you're using Twitter, you're probably also using Facebook. If you're using Instagram, you're probably also using Facebook. If you're using Snapchat, you're probably using Facebook. I have 3 teens, 14, 15, and 16. And they mainly use Snapchat, a little bit Instagram, and they all use Facebook because the school clubs and groups are on Facebook, town events are on Facebook, any other organizations like the Y or the Scouts, they all use Facebook. So they have to use Facebook for the more established organizations. So that's the other reason. And the third reason is Facebook is really simple to use, very user-friendly. So if you're a church or you're someone who's learning how to implement social media, Facebook is great for that because it's simple, it's user-friendly, and you can't do anything to break it. So you don't have to be, a photographer. You don't have to understand video. You can learn that on Facebook. So, and there's other reasons. We start with Facebook, but many of my churches actually start expanding to other platforms. So what we do, we use Facebook as the social platform to vet the content that goes out to other platforms. So if you're posting content on Facebook, you can use that same content for Twitter, for Instagram, for Snapchat. So again, the programs kind of helps you organize your social media content and communication as it goes out. So with Facebook, there's 2 main formats. People sometimes think there's more, but there's really a Facebook profile and a Facebook page. A Facebook profile is your personal, and I assume some of you might use Facebook personally, and the average person's connected to about 150 friends and family on Facebook. And so when you post something in your own Facebook profile, all 150 friends and family will see it. So for example, the example I always use is the barbecue. So if you're posting I'm having a barbecue this Saturday, everyone's invited, all 150 of your friends and family will see it. And they'll respond by asking, what to bring or whatever. Now, on the side where it's a Facebook page, it works a little differently. There's something called a 1% algorithm. Here I am saying how great Facebook could be, but there is an issue with Facebook. And that is churches and businesses use the Facebook pages, which has a limitation. So for example, let's say your Facebook page has 100 followers. And let's say you have the same barbecue. Let's say this Saturday, our church is having a church barbecue. Everyone's invited. But the problem is that Facebook will only show it to 1% of your followers. So that means if you have 100 followers on your church Facebook page, Facebook is really only showing it, displaying it to one person. Now that's a problem. That's a problem for our churches, but that's how Facebook makes money. So if you ever post it on your presbytery Facebook page, you'll see in the lower right-hand corner, there's something called Boosts. And if you want everyone to see it, all your followers and beyond, you might have to pay $3, $5, up to $20 or more. Now, going back to this program designed for churches with really limited resources, those churches can't afford to pay $3, $5, $10, whatever dollars every time they want their content to be seen. So there's a way to overcome that. And all the church has to do is find a few folks, usually 5 to 10. Small churches usually start with 5, that would make a commitment to come to the church Facebook page every day. And so when I first started, I basically took my phone, pulled up the church page, and said, hey, would you mind making a commitment to our church and checking church Facebook page and clicking like on any new posts? So I pull up the church page on my phone and click like. It took me literally 3 minutes. So that was the easy commitment. So it was pretty simple getting for churches to get folks to commit to that. And these folks, they could go and check their church Facebook page at their convenience anytime during the day. They don't all have to check at 9 in the morning or 9 in the evening and click like on whatever post. It's at their convenience, as long as they check it every day and click like on it. Now, this group of people that we start with, the small people that we start with, these 5 to 10 people, we call super users. And basically, they just make a commitment to check your Facebook page and click like on your new post. That's it. That's how we start. And generally, if a church can't think of 5 people, I'll be one, and then usually I'll just take a quick look at their Facebook page, and I could give them a potential list of all their super users. So what the super users do, okay, I'm gonna go back to that barbecue post. Now, only one person is being shown, but if you could get 5 to 7, 10 clicks on that barbecue post, Facebook's algorithm, that computer brain, will say, hey, this must be really important to this community because look at all the engagement. What it will do once it hits that threshold is like, we need to show it to the rest of the community, so all 100 followers, without paying for free. So once you get 5 clicks on that barbecue post, Facebook will then start showing that to all your 100 followers and beyond for free. So now my churches don't have to pay that $3, $5, $10, $20 to get that exposure. So, and then I will like contents, we sort of talked about a little bit. Influencers, I'll talk about that a little later. And Mike, can we move to the next slide, please? Okay. Okay, so super users. So basically, we'll ask these folks to make this commitment, and then what we're going to do, we're going to take these five people and put them in a Facebook group on your page. Okay, so let's go back to that barbecue post idea. So now the 5 people are in, and let's say you're trying something new. Like, hey, you know what? Our church wants to do a new outreach. We want to do this barbecue, church barbecue on Saturday. What do you guys think? So you're basically putting these 5 folks into almost like a chat room, and they might come back and say, hey, you know, we should try something different. Maybe we should do on Saturday, and they might start sharing ideas how to promote it and things like that. But what most people don't realize, that all that background information, all that conversation that's happening, because this group is a closed group. People will be able to see that there's a super user group on your page, but they won't be able to see the engagement or the conversation that goes on unless you want them to. So most groups are closed because maybe some conversations people don't want, churches don't want others to see yet. So that conversation, that engagement in the background actually drives your algorithm. So initially, when you got that 5 clicked and it went to 100 people, but because of that conversation that's going on in the background, Facebook's algorithm will actually take that and say, hey, look at all this conversation that's going on. I bet you this, it would be interesting to not just this community on Facebook, but the greater community that surrounds this church. Facebook kind of works like a GPS. It kind of radiates out from your location. So now, because of all the engagement, that 5 click that used to spread to 100 people, that same 5 clicks now might spread to 300 people. So that becomes this driving force for the algorithm. So that's how the super users kind of, or how we kind of start. So when we first start, it's all the techie people, all the social media people as super users. But our churches don't stop there. So when I first started, you know, my church, Metuchen, we have a large senior group. So, and then what we ask what other churches do that have the same demographic, it's like some of them are homebound. So we're going to reach out to those folks and ask them to be super users. One, it's a great ministry because now you're helping these folks have a way to reach out to the larger community and the rest of the world because they're homebound. And secondly, they know that whatever, you know, when they click like or share or comment on a post, they're helping the church gain more exposure. So it makes them really feel good. So now we have, you know, the techie social media folks. Now we're adding the homebound folks. Now the next thing I ask our churches to do is, you know, the people we call the faders. I call the faders. People who used to come to church every week, but now come once a month, or just the holidays. So you'll see someone like me in our churches run around like busy, you know, grab these people. Hey, would you mind being a super user? Since the commitment is such a simple commitment, and also some of these people who are fading away from church kind of feel a little guilty not coming to church, most of them will say yes to becoming a super user. So what happens is that these faders are now super users. They're put in the group, and they check the Facebook page every day and click like on whatever new posts. But what we're finding that they are now being re-engaged. They know what's going on church, you know, every week, and they're starting to come back because they're re-engaged now. They're plugged in again. So we don't stop there. So what I'm going to jump forward and say is, if you start thinking strategically and look at your demographic in your church, and you start picking super users that represent all the different demographics in your church, you know, at some point across the board, you'll have all these super users in all the demographics in your church. What's great now, it's great for exposure, but at the same time, you're connecting people in this group that probably don't usually talk to each other, the church. The seniors that kind of stay together, the moms and the dads that kind of stay together there, the single folks. So all the different demographics are coming together in this group, and they're now sharing and talking to each other. They're strengthening the relationship. So, and And that's the beginning of how we use the super users. They not only provide a greater exposure, but now you're having all these different demographics in your group. So, so how do they kind of improve attendance? So now you have, I have churches like almost 50% of the entire church is in their super user group. So you can imagine the conversation and engagement that goes on. Imagine the exposure that kind of engagement is giving the social platform. So we're reaching, hundreds, if not thousands of people. Now, I had mentioned that each person's connected to about 150 people, right? So out of the 150 people, half of them, 50%, are local. So that's really a good fact to have, because now you could see that you could start inviting people as well, right? You can invite people to church because half of them live locally. So anyway, back to the attendance. Each super user is connected usually at least 2 other connections in church, either family or friend. So now you're in the super user group, and at the end of the week, what my churches will do is say, hey, have a great weekend. Please come to church. See you at church. Don't forget to remind your friends to come to church. Now, so let's say you have 10 super users, and each of them are connected to other friends. And you give them a reason to come to church, either through just invitation or just the connection, and that because that's where they're going to meet up. So now you're going to have a consistent 30 people come to church. So, and that's not including your church going loyalists. So you can see after a while how that will stabilize your church attendance. So, and if your church attendance is stabilized, then eventually your finances are stabilized. So the super user group that starts as pretty much like someone just sharing social media stuff becomes a really core constituents that maintains the health and expands the health of your church. So, okay, I think we go on next slide. So now, if each person's connected to 150 people, and one of the benchmark is to reach 500 people in 30 days, which most churches will think, wow, that's a really high number. I just started working with a church in Sherrill Presbytery. I think it's Middletown. And they started 2 days ago. Last month, their Facebook reached 34 people. Today, I checked, their reach was 277 people. In 2 days, they jumped from 34 to 277 people. And this is what happens. Each person is connected to 150. So if that person shares it, or clicks on it, or engage the content, Facebook is going to share it to their friends. So yes, that 500 number is large, but if you really think about it, you really only need 4 people to share your church content, and you are over 500 reach. Those other people are seeing the content that's coming because of the super users, because of the people who are engaged. Now that the churches are reaching at least 500 people every day, every month. Now, and some do every day, but my church is now like to people every month. We provide a very simple editorial template. At least I do. So for most of my churches, Monday is, Bible verses. Some sort of inspirational. Tuesday, it's someone who's really into photography or videos to provide photos and we're kind of starting to spread out the work a little bit. And so it's not one person doing it, unless the church wants to do it that way. Again, you know, they can customize it however what they want. Wednesday is, excuse me, an engagement post right now. Most of my churches are posting, you know, what should we pray for today? And that gets a lot of engagement. So Thursday, maybe someone who's in charge of the youth could post something, Friday music. And so you can see that we're spreading the work. And if your church changes in any way, new pastor, new volunteers, new office admin, having the structure in place makes it really simple to train new people coming aboard. So I've left out Saturday. Many of my churches now, the pastors will actually do a sermon preview. And basically it's 60 seconds, and it's usually the thought, the seed, or the idea of the sermon for that coming Sunday. And that's really powerful, because what's happening is the pastor's going on video for 60 seconds, say, hey, I'm writing the sermon for you. Please come tomorrow. It's really personal. And you know, the congregations I've visited, and who, they will tell me, like, when they know they're not going to church or they can't make church, that and the pastor's sermon preview pops up, it's so personal that they either have to turn it off or turn away. So it's, you know, and for pastors who are new to the church, they do a lot more Facebook Live. And remember that 1% algorithm where Facebook doesn't show more than one person? It's Facebook Live doesn't adhere to that 1%. So many of the pastors who do their very first Facebook Live posts will reach hundreds of people, even if they only have a handful of followers, because Facebook's algorithm is not limiting that. And then many of my churches now on Sundays are doing Facebook Live streaming. So, and again, I provide information how to do that. It's relatively simple, any kind of mobile device. You know, I have churches that really do, it's, you know, high tech for them. So, so I think we could go on to the next slide. Thank you. Okay. Within this program, there's a lot of behind the scenes. And like I said in the beginning, you really don't need someone techie nowadays to be in this program or have techie, you know, folks to help you. One, the automatic system is that since the system's tracking your Facebook page, so every 72 hours, it will check your Facebook page. And if your church does not post anything, and if you think about those churches with very limited resources, with, you know, no pastors or a part-time pastor, they're not going to be able to be consistently posting. So this system will actually automatically post for you every 72 hours if the church does not post anything. It's always a Bible verse, so they know the content is already vetted, so they don't have to worry about it. And for a church that's starting this program, who's trying to figure out what kind of content, it's kind of reassuring to know that the system's in place, because they could take the time to figure out what they want to post, what kind of content, and to develop their editorial calendar. So that's one of the behind the tech pieces to this. And the other thing is that every month they will get a mini report that will tell them what their current online presence and reach and engagement on Facebook is. And they will have 3 simple questions. And basically, they ask for their new visitors number, their attendance, and new members. And it's really simple. They just plug in numbers, and that's it. So I think I can move on to the next slide, because it's kind of connected to, and it's all the measurement. So here you are, you have this program in place, you want to be able to measure it and get real data and real, and generally that's how I let my reports and results kind of do the talking, because I'm a terrible salesperson, but well, what churches also get, not just a monthly report, it's quarterly reports. So every quarterly they'll get a self-diagnostic report that basically tells them how many new visitors getting, what their online presence are, what their attendance, and they could take all that information and with their limited resources, say, hey, where do we want to invest our resources based on this fact and data and not our assumptions. So that's something else that is a piece to this whole program. And I think I can move to the next slide. So I am going a little quick, so just oh, Mike's not not there, but I could go on to the next slide. No problem. So basically, after we establish the foundation of this program, the next step for many churches is we kind of focus on what kind of goals they have and how much do they want to grow. And I also help them with designing specific online and offline campaigns that are customized to their goals. And basically, this campaign will draw from their goals. We will take a set of strategies and we will apply it. And at first, we see what works, what the strategies that work, we keep. The strategies that don't work, we put in new strategies. And basically all these ideas and strategies come from other churches that I crowdsource. So since I think I could pause a little bit here. Any questions before I kind of wrap up?
Hey, John, I do have a question. This
Yes.
is Sue. Would you even recommend a church website at this point?
It's not necessary. If you think of the modern websites, if you look at the really more contemporary website, they really funnel everyone into social platforms because that's the only way they can start a relationship with you. Only way they could to capture you as a visitor. So for the churches that, again, going back to that very limited resources, they can't afford a website, they don't need one. So, I mean, websites are great to provide a, impression. Wow, this is a huge church with a lot of programs. Ooh, this is a really nice family church, But you can do that on Facebook, and it's free. So Mike, I think we can go to the next slide. And so that's really, so once this foundation is established, that's why churches and presbyteries will stay with me for more than a year, because once we start getting into the more advanced stuff, they get very excited. And these online, offline, I know I'm going a little advanced here, deals with fundraising, attendance, whatever they want, car washes, we just help them implement these campaigns. And then churches, one of the questions, once their foundation's established, is I ask those three questions. Do you want organic growth, just naturally, you're growing at whatever rate you are? You want a little, more attention to your growth, or you want strong growth? And that kind of helps me measure what kind of engagement I have with that church. How should I support them? So, and we could move on to the next slide, Mike. So think of by this point, most of them are thinking about maybe a communication team or committee. And the last slide, Mike, I think we go on to the last one. Oh, let me talk about this. So for all the churches that start this, again, in 30 days, they see a lot of improvement and get some really excited. And for the churches who are talking about dying, and that's the conversation that goes on all the time, when they reach their benchmark, the conversations changed. They no longer talk about dying. They're talking about what they should do next. So, and the second component to the benchmark is to invite 4 new visitors. And so what we do as part of the second part is we review any kind of outreach activity. And a lot of times these ideas are great. It's just the implementation of it that they're having trouble with, because they're not professionals in marketing or promoting. Review their new visitor retention process, contact that, many churches just rely on one simple form of collecting contact information, and that's just not enough. So and this, every piece has a training that goes with it. So there's a training that goes into new visitors retention. There's a training that goes into how to better collect contact information. So, and then I think the next slide, Mike, is the last slide. So right now, Presbyterian Carlisle started about 2 weeks ago, and this is the data I have, and there's 2 more that just came on. So, and their numbers are already, like I said, I think it was Middleton, it's already in the hundreds, and so essentially these churches are already ministering beyond their church, unless the first church has over 800 members, 900 members, 600 members. So now what do? Now we, and I've talked to all of them, and most of them will achieve the 4 new visitors benchmark as well by the end of 30 days. So like I said, over 90% of the churches in the program achieved the first 30-day benchmark. And so I hope I didn't go too fast, and I hope I wasn't too muffled, and I have a slight New York Chinese accent going on as well. I grew up in New York City, so so anyway, any questions? Anything I muffled through or wasn't clear? Please.
John, could you talk a little bit? This is Sue. Could you talk a little bit about the kind of pricing for this?
Sure. If the church goes through the presbytery, I charge each church $500 for the whole year. So I mean, it's less than your cable bill or whatever it is. I was just talking to another church for Cheryl's Presbytery, and their social media is a little bit more established, but once I gave them the baseline report, they realized they were missing stuff, but they really wanted the advanced stuff. And so they're really excited that they have a new ministry idea, and they really want a professional to help guide them. And so we're talking about what their goals are, designing a strategy and plan for those goals that are much more advanced than just basic social media. And did I answer your question? It's $500, right? So,
John, I had 2 questions come up to me by chat. The first one is, how many of the 150 friends are local?
50%, about 75. So, and that is the very first strategy. The very first strategy for what we call the power of 4. The first strategy is to ask your congregation and get them into the habit of inviting at least one friend or one family member to church one Sunday a month. And just that one strategy will get you 4 visitors. So, I mean, I just talked to one church in, I think it was Second Pres, and their benchmark for their visitors in the first 30 days is 20. So they're shooting high. So,
Second question I had was, what are your recommendations in using Facebook groups within your church Facebook page? Is there value in creating groups? Does your program address this?
Yes, they're very valuable because I think, hopefully I didn't muffle through this, but the engagement that goes on in these groups actually drives the algorithm to give you more exposure. The conversations that go on in these groups drives that exposure. And they're all private conversations. I mean, most groups are closed groups. I mean, you can only see that there's a group there, but they may have a description of what the group does. So, but they're really important. Having these groups, I mean, another tip I always tell churches, for example, if you're doing VBS year after year, put all those volunteers and attendees in that group. Because next year, you don't have to start over again. It's a giant chat room. You just say, hey, everyone, we're starting VBS again. All the volunteers, please come back. All the attendees, please come back. So, and you have them all year long. So you have a car wash. Hey, maybe you promote it on the VBS, in the VBS group.
Now, is the algorithm smart enough to tie the VBS closed chat to the VBS posts so that it's punching those posts, or is it just pushing the general church page?
It will generally push the entire page, but it will do a little bit for your VBS posts. But honestly, the people in that group is going to spread the news more effectively and efficiently than that post will ever do.
Hey, John, can you explain a little bit, because I think churches get confused with a group Facebook page versus a public page?
Yes. There's only two formats in Facebook. There's only a private profile and a Facebook page. That's it. Everything else comes underneath those two categories. So a group is always under a page. It could be under a profile, but that's not really considered a page. So for some churches that I start helping, they don't have Facebook page. They started with Facebook group. The problem with the Facebook group is whatever content you share only stays within that group. It doesn't go beyond and reach your larger community. A page will actually, the algorithm is created such a way that it will spread to your larger community. And that's why you see those 800 numbers, 900 numbers, and so on.
Yeah, that's the oftentimes the problem I got to talk to churches too is they have a group page. They don't know why it's going out any further. Yeah, because the group only stays within the group. And then a lot of times you can't even share within the group. You can only share within the members. It won't even share, because if it's a closed group, that means anything shared stays in the group. It's closed. You can't share it out to the rest, to the public. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Hey, John. Can I be heard?
Yep, we hear you.
Okay. Can we pop the hood a little bit and talk about the tech behind the program?
Sure.
You mentioned there's an automatic posting service that will post for you to keep your page active. What programming do you use?
Say that again, I'm sorry.
The automatic posting service, what programming do you use? What system do you use?
Oh, it's actually designed for my specific program. So
Oh.
it's not a off-the-shelf
It's
kind of
not like Hootsuite or something like that.
No. It has to be specific to our churches because, first of all, they're only Bible verses. And then secondly, in case a church posts something, the system needs to know not to post, not to overpost. Or if the church decides to schedule a post, the system needs to know, okay, we can't post something because it's already scheduled to post. So little nuances like that we can't take something off the shelf and plug it in this case.
Okay.
Hey, John, there's a number of churches that have gone into their offline program themselves. How do you sync an offline program that's already in operation with what you're doing?
So what do you mean by offline?
Well, that would be just a basic church growth program in a church that's already happening in terms
Oh,
of
okay.
they're doing it, invite a friend Sunday or whatever.
Yes. Basically, that's actually easy. I mean, basically, what we would do is take what they're doing offline and put it online, so that it gets greater exposure. So instead of just inviting one person, let the social platform invite 10 people, or show it to 10 people. So actually, that's an advantage. That means they've kind of already set the foundation. So think of the social platform like a giant megaphone, or.
So this is Cheryl. I just wanted to chime in and say that at least one of our churches that's using the program has had really favorable responses to the auto posting of Bible verses. That has become something that people have looked forward to and have appreciated. So what you're using is working well for that church anyway.
And that's also something kind of new. For a while there, these memes, what they called, even Facebook tried to limit the memes, but what the research is showing that people really enjoy these uplifting, spiritual, motivational, it's not just church posts, memes. And all the big corporations are now switching back to memes because for a while they were reducing all the memes. So I'm glad, I'm really happy.
And John, did you, I think you might have told me at one point that for a presbytery that was using this program, there might be a different kind of an automated post. Would you talk a little bit about that? So if any of our presbyteries want to automate the program, what would you draw in as auto posts for a presbytery?
Sure. And generally we start with pilot program. I always involve a presbytery. First of all, because I really think that it's really helpful. Because the program is really, yes, we talk about tech, but it's really relational. You're talking about these super users making further commitments to the church, people getting to know each other in a different formats. And so for presbytery, the posting would be probably the same way. Every 72 hours, the system will check it. In that case, it flags it. It will actually flag it, and I will go and look at it because presbytery is just one entity. Churches, it could be hundreds, 100 church under a presbytery. So the automation just does it automatically. But it will flag it. Something wasn't posted within 72 hours. I will go and look at your presbytery, and I will then, hopefully by then we would have a editorial calendar in place, or I will say simply I will be pulling content from PCUSA. So I will let you know ahead of time where we'll be pulling. And generally, when I pull something PCUSA, it's less controversial. So I have to be sensitive, of that. Anyway, but what's really important, I think Cheryl's it's this pastors Facebook group that we install on all the presbytery pages. It brings all the pastors together in that super user group. And, if you're a new presbytery leader, it's a great way to strengthen relationships. And, Cheryl's still in the Elizabeth pastors group, and she'll see pastors actually, will post, hey, I'm going out for lunch and you want to join me? And people meet in diners for drinks. I mean, it's barter. I have one church that were renovating the kitchen, and they had this $30,000 worth butcher block table that they wanted to give away. And, share resources, especially with our churches with limited resources. It's just a really great way to kind of connect everyone. So I hope I answered the question.
Anyone else? John, any closing remarks?
Not really, you know, I'm really passionate about this because of the results, really. You know, I came from the corporate world, and from the corporate world, it is only about results. It's you implement an idea or strategy, and you look at the results. And if the results are low, you move on. And this, the results really speaks for themselves. And if you're interested, I would suggest you start a pilot program, pull together several churches, maybe different size if you can, and try it in your region, in your location, in your community. And you know, I've done this in, like I said, northeast, east, and in the southeast now, and the results are pretty much the same if you're in the south, in the north, Midwest, wherever. So, and wait till how excited these churches are when they see that they're reaching all these people and they're ministering beyond the walls so quickly, and they're new visitors. And right now, you know, this generation, you know, people just, you know, the idea of membership is not a, you know, strong concept. So for people to come to church and so, but that's it.
All right, I guess that's everything.
Can I say one more thing before?
Yeah, please, go ahead.
Just wanted to let you all know that we've had our 5 pilot churches that have had great results with John, and we're ready to expand and offer this to the whole presbytery. So we're working on having John do this Zoom workshop for anybody from our presbytery who wants to tune in on, I think we decided March the 19th at 7 in the evening. We'd welcome other churches from other presbyteries to participate in that as well. And then we're working on bringing John to the region on March the 26th, like at 11 o'clock in the morning. We don't have a firm location yet, but we certainly would welcome anybody who would like to attend that. He'll do this same workshop that we've just walked through online in person, with a chance for people to ask questions and really start to connect in both with him and with understanding the program. So I can publish the details of both of those things through the group, and anybody is welcome to participate that would be interested.
Hopefully we'll have a better mic.
Yeah.
Cheryl, where are you located?
We're in Camp Hill, Pennsylvania.
They're in the Synod office and the Carlisle office share the same building.
Yeah.
Okay, well, you know, we appreciate John and thank him for his time. If anybody else has any other questions, I think you probably have access to John's email. He was in some group chats that we had. If there's more information I can help you out with, if you're interested in becoming part of this, let me know, let John know, and we'll go forward from there. I do have a recording of this, so I'll make this available. Once I have it processed, I'll make sure I send it out as well to everybody. And there was several people who couldn't make it that wanted a copy of it, so we'll make sure they get it as well. So thanks for joining, and I guess enjoy the rest of your day.
Thanks
Thank
for
you.
hosting. Thank you, John.
Thank you.
Have a great day.
Bye. Bye.